Hi, welcome to Balanced with Bailey. Today is going to be the first episode of the Balanced With series. So today's episode is going to be about nursing. So Balanced with Nursing is the title that you guys all saw. I want to start off by talking about my nursing journey and just diving straight into it. So my nursing journey started, I decided senior year of high school. I didn't really know what I wanted to do and ended up deciding that I wanted to go to nursing school. So my older brother actually convinced me to apply to Boise State. I had never been to Idaho. I'd never been to Boise before. So it was kind of a backup for me and ended up getting in. I decided to come here kind of on a whim. I visited one weekend one time and was just like, you know what, I'm going to full send it and go. The way that Boise State works is the first 2 years are prereqs, and then you apply to get into the program. And then you're in fully nursing school for 4 semesters, and then officially you graduate and move on with your BSN. So my first 2 years, I did all my prereqs. COVID happened the second semester of my freshman year. So I had fall semester freshman year, went home for COVID, and I honestly didn't know if I was going to come back to Boise. I just felt really far away from home because my mom and my brother were in New Jersey. My sister was in San Diego, and we were just kind of all over the place, and I didn't know really what to do. I felt like everyone around me was from California. Everyone had known each other since high school or growing up, and I just felt really out of place. So I was kind of off put, like thinking about transferring where other nursing schools I could transfer into, and then COVID happened. I ended up going to Florida for majority of that time. It was like 2 months doing online chem, online bio, and somehow passing all of those classes in the middle of all of the chaos. But I think it was a blessing in disguise because I ended up coming back to Boise in the fall and met a group of friends that I loved and just ended up having a really good time and was really glad that I was here. I applied to the program like everybody else to start in the fall, and I got straight up denied. Not a wait list, not a maybe. You're not, like, the email literally said denied. So that threw me for a loop because I had good grades. I studied. I feel like I'm a pretty smart person in general. Not saying I'm the smartest. Like, I have to work for my grades, but I worked really hard. So I freaked out a bit because I was like, what am I going to do? What's my backup plan? Came up with backups B, C, and D because what was I going to do? I didn't want to be a whole semester behind everyone else. And it definitely shocked me for sure. Kind of made me think, like, is this what I want to do? Am I worth it? Like, can I do it? Am I smart enough? I decided to become a certified nurse assistant or a CAP, depending on what you call it, which is basically your assistant to a nurse. So I did part-time classes the next semester, just getting in the credits that I needed to, like sociology, music, all of that random stuff, and worked as a CNA on an adult trauma floor. Post-surgery, trauma, kind of everything all in between. I worked night shift, and I worked from 2 to 3 days a week, depending on classes and what was going on, and then I slowly cut back to once a week. I was sitting in my orientation for being a CNA. So I got the job. I was sitting in orientation where they teach you Epic and all the computer stuff. And I remember looking down and I got the email because, so backing up a little bit, it takes like 12 to 13 weeks to get your CNA license. Like, it takes a long time. It's not just something you like go out and decide you want to do. You have to do clinicals. You have to go through all the courses. So it was probably the end of that semester that everyone else that I knew was finishing up their first semester of nursing school. I was finishing my CNA, and I was sitting there in my orientation, and I got the email that I got in because I had to apply twice. So this was the second time. Okay, this is a little bit confusing, but this was the second time. So the first time, straight up denied, got my CNA, was working on my CNA, reapplied for the next semester. When I reapplied for the next semester, I got waitlisted because everyone says if you don't get in the first time, you'll get in the second time. And I got waitlisted. And that was the moment I was like, there's no way I can do this. I was going to switch my major. I was going to do an accelerated nursing program, get a second degree. I had a whole backup plan. Applied one more time, got waitlisted. all of my friends who were on the wait list were getting off, and they sent out an email to everyone on the wait list. So I was like counting who was on the wait list, who was in, all of that stuff. Decided to just stop caring. Figured it was going to work out how it was going to work out. And I got in. I got that email. I finally got in. So I was a semester behind where I wanted to be, but honestly, it was a blessing, and I'll take that semester because my nursing school best friends, I'm still best friends with. One of them is still my roommate. Love her. And I wouldn't have changed it for the world, but I remember that moment being like, am I supposed to be a nurse? And if I didn't get in the first time, I got waitlisted the second time. Is this what I'm supposed to do? Like, is this a sign that I should pick something else and shouldn't be a nurse? But it wasn't. And honestly, it was for the best because I went through nursing school. Nursing school sucks, but it's also not as bad as everyone makes it seem. Yes, it's so hard. And I had 12-hour clinical days, 12-hour work days. You don't get paid for clinicals. You're in 4-hour lectures. They stack your lectures. So you're there from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. or whatever, on top of sims and everything. As long as you're organized, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. I still hung out with friends. I still went out on the weekends. You can balance it if you put your mind to it and you want to, and just learn as much as you can. And in the end, know that you're not going to know it all, because I still don't know it all. And I've been a nurse for almost 9 months and I don't plan on knowing it all. I think that's a huge thing too, is like, nursing is a field where you're never going to know. Everything's always changing. New literature is coming out, new studies, practices change. You just have to be able to go with the flow. So I completed nursing school. It was hard. I did it. I'm so proud of myself for doing it. I met some of my best friends doing it. You learn what you like and what you don't like. And I worked as a CNA during that whole thing. I went down to like once a week because I was doing clinicals once a week, which if you don't know, it's basically as a student, you go follow around a nurse for 12 hours and don't get paid. So that's fun. So basically between my clinical and my working, I was getting paid, like averaging it out, I was getting paid $10 an hour, which is crazy because I was also supporting myself. Everything that I was making was going towards rent and food and everything else. So I was supporting myself the whole way through, which was one of the hardest parts, especially being surrounded by people where their parents help pay for things. And I'm not saying my parents didn't, like my mom sent me what she could when she could, and I would order things off her Amazon all the time. So it's not like I had zero support ever, but just not as much as the people around me, which is kind of hard. I think that made me stronger and made me who I am and made me so much better with money, because now I know how to spend my paychecks. I was in nursing school, grinding, figuring it all out. I was also in a sorority for a little bit, and then just decided it was not worth it on top of everything else that I was doing. But I made some amazing friends from that and got the full college experience. And I'm so glad I did it that way. I would do it again. I tell everyone to get the college experience if it's something that's worth it, like nursing. If it's not, don't do it. It's not everyone's path. Yeah, did nursing school, was working, decided I did not want to work with adults because working on that floor, adults are gross, and I would have up to 16 patients. I was working night shift. It was a 32-bed floor, Q4, so every 4 hours you go and do vitals. You help them with the call lights, and it was just not a good work environment. I did it because I got paid, and it was really good to show that I worked at a hospital for like 2.5, 3 years before applying to jobs. So I stayed, I did it, but I knew that that was not what I wanted to do as a nurse. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do as a nurse, and then I got my preceptorship. So your final semester of nursing school, you get like a long-term student place. So I was in the PICU, the pediatric ICU, and I loved it. My preceptor was a girl that I knew from my sorority who graduated 2 years before me, and she was rotating. So every 6 weeks she was doing day shift or night shift, and basically for 180 hours, I just followed her around and she taught me everything. And I ended up getting a job in that pediatric ICU, and this was a full circle moment for me because I was the only one in my cohort who got offered a job on that unit when a lot of people wanted that job. And it made me feel good, honestly, because I got denied from nursing school the first time. I got waitlisted the second time, but I made it in, I made it through, and I got offered a really exciting residency job. So the way that my hospital does it is once you graduate, You pass your NCLEX, which is a whole nother thing I'll get into, but you pass your NCLEX and you have 1 year of residency. So you do a residency class once a month for 4 hours with all the other new nurses. If you have less than 1 year experience, you're in residency. And honestly, that class can be a lot because it doesn't really pertain to ICU or pediatrics, but it's fun to see everyone I went to nursing school with. And you do that for a year and then you're officially a nurse. But there's also orientation. So orientation is different than residency because orientation is depending on your unit and your floor, you are with a nurse for a certain amount of time, then you're on developmental, and then you're on your own. So my floor, I think it was 3 months you're with a nurse, then a month of like transitioning, which really I didn't get any transition time because the way my unit works is it's either crazy busy with so many kids or none and empty. I did get that time. I got my orientation and I've been on my own for a couple months now, which is crazy. But going back to my NCLEX. So you graduate nursing school, then you get a couple months to take this big test called the NCLEX. And it can be anywhere from 85 to 150 questions. You don't know until you hit next and it stops. I got all 150 questions. I took it with on the same day as my 3 best friends from nursing school. 85, 100. Oh, it wasn't too bad. They got all next gen questions. If you're in nursing school, next gen is a little bit different style versus the select all that apply. I got probably 3 next gen questions and everything else was select all that apply and medications. If you know, pharmacology is one of the hardest classes you take in nursing school, and all of mine were pharmacology. So I was like, okay, cool. I failed. I messed up somewhere and got all 150 questions. Then you have to wait 28 to 48 hours. So I ended up flying to California to see my older brother the next day. It was Valentine's Day. So right after that, I had a break. I was like, okay, I'm going to go see him, then go to New Jersey and see the rest of my family. I remember we were driving down the PCH and there's a cheat where if you look up your nursing license on the state of Idaho board or state of whatever board, your name pops up, and my name popped up. So I started freaking out. And then I went to my email to see if I got the email that I passed, and I did. Thank God, because I don't know what I would have done if I didn't pass, because I'd already been hit down a few times in the nursing field and on my nursing journey. So I was so excited that I passed. I had my PICU job lined up and I got to relax for 2 months, which it was the best thing ever. If you graduate nursing school, relax for a little bit, take your NCLEX, take a month or 2 just to breathe. It was so nice. I got to do that for about a month, went home, traveled, and then I started my residency, which I talked a little bit about, but I'm almost done with my residency. It's November. I graduated December of last year. So it's been almost a year since I graduated school, which is crazy to say because time flies, but I'm so proud of myself and where I am now. So that was a bit about my nursing journey and how I got to where I am. So I'm currently finishing up my nurse residency. I'll be done in March, and then I have a year contract. So March of next year is when I'll be done. And I'm in the PICU doing my residency class every month. It's going good. Nursing is hard. I love to be on the positive side of nursing. A lot of my nursing content is super positive, but holy crap, it can be so hard. It will beat you down sometimes. It kind of goes in flows. Sometimes you feel really good and you're like, I'm so smart. I'm helping these kids. I know what I'm doing. I know my pressors. I know all my lines, my everything. And then other times you just get rocked. And at this point now, 10 months in, I've had both. I've had some really good days and really good times where I know my stuff. I know my patients. You get them back the next shift and you're just rocking and rolling. The 12 hours goes by like this. Then there's been other times where I have questioned everything. I've only cried at work once. And that was one of the questions that I put up on my Instagram. I put up a Q&A. That was one of the questions was, if I've ever cried at work? Yes. I cried at work because, so the way the PICU works is whenever the PICU is low census, which there's not a lot of patients or they don't need you, we help support the pediatric med-surg floor. I give so much props to the pediatric med-surg floor nurses. I love them all. They're all so nice. But I did not know what I was doing. And balancing 4 patients is insane because I literally went from never having 4 patients because the max I have is in the ICU is 2. Going from 2 patients to 4 patients is insane. And I had no idea what I was doing, and they just kind of threw me in. I was like, okay, time management is insane out there. We help support the pediatric floor, and for a while the PICU was super short, like just patients. So I was out there for like 8 shifts in a row. It was a Sunday. I got an A day, which is available, so you're on call. I got called in to support the peds floor on a Sunday, and I was like, okay. I resourced for a couple hours, and then I took an assignment. And when I say it was a dumpster fire of an assignment, it was. Nothing was right. All the orders didn't reflect what I got in report. Just kind of all over the place. Had to call a doctor for one of my patients, advocated for my patient because they were NPO, hadn't had fluids or anything by mouth for 18 hours, and was advocating for them. Was like, can I give them a fluid bolus? Like, I'm scared they're going to be dehydrated. It's an 18-month-old baby. What can I do? Oh, I told the nurse this. You should know this. Okay, well, the doctor's orders actually had a regular diet in. So it was good that I even called the doctor because their orders were wrong. And it was a whole thing. Called the doctor. The doctor came in on a Sunday, was very upset with me, but I'm a PICU nurse. I'm used to having my intensivist in the back where I can go ask them questions and advocate for my patients. So I was already out of my comfort zone, and I was like, you know what? No, I feel like I should be able to advocate for my patients. So I did. The doctor came in. I was in the room programming the bolus into the pump when the doctor came in and was like, oh, well, sometimes things get lost in translation when like staff changes. So basically, without going into too many detail, was talking crap on me to my patient's family while I was right there. Rude. Also, this doctor has a really good reputation, so I think they were just having a bad day. But anyways, not very nice. I went to my PICU charge and told them, and I was like, I don't like the way that I'm being treated out there. I got called in to support their floor and help them, which I don't mind doing because I love the nurses out there. But that's really rude that I advocated for my patient, got yelled at. And I cried to my charge at the end of the shift at like 8 p.m. That night I ended up staying until like 8:30 because that family ended up going home, and I helped get everything situated. I want to make sure they were okay and that they were good and had everything they needed to go home. So that was probably one of the hardest shifts I've had as a nurse, and I cried, which it wasn't even in the PICU, which is crazy, but that was the one time I cried at work. Other than that, I've had a great experience, and I love the PICU doctors. They know what they're doing. They're the smartest people ever. The support that I have on my unit is insane. Unit support and like culture also affects your work. In the PICU, we only have 12 beds. We really don't have that many nurses, and we only have 5 doctors that rotate. Besides specialties like ENT, neuro, all of that good stuff. I feel so supported in what I'm doing. And also, you don't have to get along with everyone. Sometimes I just sit in my little corner and read my book, or I sit in my little corner and do my things. That's okay. And I'm fine with that. And then other times there's people that I love and friends that I would hang out with outside of it. And you're like nursing besties that you would help them and they would help you do anything, which is so nice. So the culture matters. And it's interesting to see different cultures in different places. That's what I love about nursing content and following other nurses on social media, because it kind of helps bring a balance to like what's okay and like what you can stand up for and like what everyone else is going through. That kind of brings me into like nursing content creation and like TikTok and all of that. I love being on the positive side of nurse talk, and I just made a TikTok about this. It's kind of going viral right now, but tagging like other nurse creators and everyone talking about being positive, but also being honest about it and being open, I think is huge. Like I said, nursing's hard. It's not easy. It's so rewarding, but 12-hour shifts are long. It's rough. Sometimes families are rough. Sometimes people have bad days. Sometimes you have a bad day. But getting through those 12 hours and knowing that you made a difference is such a big deal. And I give props to all the nurses. I don't care what department you're in. I don't care if you're outpatient, inpatient, home health. There's so many things you can do. Also, love nursing for that reason. Like, if you decide that you want to do something and then you hate it, go do something else. You have so much time. It's funny because this reminds me of one of the stories. So during my nurse residency, one of the classes was talking about social media. And this brings up the whole topic of social media, healthcare workers on social media, all of that good stuff. My teacher who was teaching the class was like, I don't even tell people where I work. I don't tell them what department. I don't tell them where. You shouldn't be posting anything on social media, and it should be private. It should be nothing that has to do with the hospital because you don't want the hospital to get a bad rap because you work there and you work for them. Okay, no. First off, no. I post on social media because I want to inspire nursing students. I want to make a community of positive nurses that help uplift and support each other and can relate, because if you're going through something, I'm sure someone else is in the same position, like as a nurse. So I'm going to post on social media and talk about nursing. I don't talk about what hospital I work at. I talk about the unit I work at. And if you really try hard enough, you can probably find out where I work, but also not my problem. And a lot of the nurses that I work with have found my TikTok because as my community gets bigger and I have started to gain more followings, they've noticed. It's come up on their For You page. They see me on Instagram, whatever. I have only gotten positive feedback, and management has been a part of that, which I'm so grateful for because they support me and wanting to be creative and create a healthy space for healthcare workers. So props to them, because I've heard horror stories like other nurses who have gotten fired over it or whatever. I know HIPAA. I know the regulations. I know the rules and I follow them. Doesn't mean I can't get on here and talk about why I love nursing or why I don't, or when things happen to me. I respect everyone's boundaries. I respect privacy. And if you do it the right way, it should be okay. So that really bothered me in that nurse residency class when for 4 hours they talked about how social media is like the worst thing ever. So don't listen to those people because they're just old and they don't get it. And not my problem that you don't want to be inclusive and talk about how healthcare can be hard and have other people help recognize that healthcare can be hard. People don't know what nurses go through if you're not a nurse. Like if you work a 9 to 5, I don't know what you go through because it's so different, and that's okay. That's why I post and I like sharing things, because then people can relate and understand what you go through. That's the whole reason why I post. And I think it's so important for people to be open and honest about what they're doing. And it shouldn't be that deep. Anyways, getting more into the posting side, I started posting my senior year last semester clinical, get ready with me, stuff like that, day in the life of a nursing student, not very frequently, not taking it super serious. And then I did a trend and it went pretty viral. It's at like 500K. And I remember walking into my lecture and someone being like, I saw you on my For You page. And I was like, no, you didn't. That wasn't me. It was something about, it was one of the sounds where it was like, oh no, that wouldn't be me. And it was like saying you're a girl that only wants to work in pediatrics as a nurse, like kind of doing that. Or like one of them was talking about how I cleaned up my patient 30 minutes ago and then I was going to be back. Like if you scroll far enough on my TikTok, you can find it. But a couple of those sounds went viral and I was kind of gaining a bit of a following. I graduated, was posting my studying for my NCLEX, all that kind of stuff, kind of started to post more regularly. And then as a new grad, I was like, you know what? At the beginning of the year in January, I was like, more like February, I was like, I'm going to post about my residency and being a new grad, because being a new grad's hard. There's ups and downs and I want to share my story. So I started posting about being a new grad. That's where things started taking off. Day in the lives, come work a shift with me, getting ready, all of that good stuff. Been gaining a following ever since then, building a community, following so many nurses, people relating, other PICU nurses in different states, people in the ER, home health. Like I have such a great community online now, and it's so fun to be able to watch everyone's videos about like other people who are working night shift, how they do night shift, what shoes all the nurses are wearing, like stuff like that. Then I started posting just talking videos, like sitting down, like debriefing a shift, or this is me before and after shift. I think my last one to go viral has been the staying on the positive side of nurse talk, tagging other nurses, which has been so fun to get to see a whole bunch of creators that everybody else follows that I can follow now and kind of build just the positivity around nursing. It's been so good. And I continue to grow. And at the beginning, posting was so embarrassing. Like that first class when I went in and someone in my cohort was like, oh my gosh, I saw you on TikTok. I was like, this is so embarrassing. I've definitely had people talk bad about me or send my stuff around. And at first it used to bother me. And then I decided to stop caring because honestly, they probably just wish that they could post and do what I'm doing, which honestly everyone can. And I think everyone should post. Like one of my roommates is in law school. I love watching her stuff because I have no idea what law school is like or what lawyers do, but I love being able to see into other people's lives and relate to that and see what she does when I'm not around or when I'm at work or when she's at work. So if people are talking bad, they're going to talk anyways. So just control the narrative. And as soon as you get over that hump of being cringe or people talking about it, it turns into like, oh my gosh, how'd you do that? Or like, wow, you're gaining a following, or like, oh, I'm asking you about content or wanting to be in content. And it's just like, the people who support you. And like, I love my friends that comment on all my things. And it helps when you have positive people around you. So if people are talking bad about it, they're just jealous and it doesn't matter. So surround yourself with positive people who support you. Like my friends now. They like all my TikToks. They talk about my content. They love when I get PR packages because then we all open them up together. And if I don't want something or use something because I already have it, I'll give it to them. And it's just such a fun thing. And they're so supportive and it makes all the difference. Also Chandler, my boyfriend, another shout out. I've been giving him shout outs all the time, but he supports me too and loves to be in content with me, even though he has no social media, which is so funny. I feel like it's such a balance of like me posting everything and probably too much online and then he posts nothing. So it's funny to see him react, but he gets so excited about things too. So excited to have him on. But also like I send him my content and he loves it because he doesn't know what I do. Like as a nurse, he's not a nurse. He works 9 to 5 in construction. So for him to be able to see like what I'm doing or like talk about it and understand, it helps him sympathize so much too, because like if I have a rough shift or a rough day at work, now he kind of understands more of what I'm going through versus me just being like, yeah, work was hard, or like him not seeing a day of my life or like knowing how a 12-hour shift works or how nursing goes. So I think that's also an awesome thing about sharing, is because it just allows people in. It lets you be vulnerable, shares what you're going through, and people can support you. It's okay to need support. It's okay to need help. Also, as a nurse, go to your charge nurses. Find your nurses that have been there longer than you, and you can ask them dumb questions, and you feel okay asking them dumb questions. And that has made such a difference too. It's like, ask the questions. It's okay. You're not supposed to know everything. I don't care how long you've been a nurse. If it's something even as simple as like drawing blood off of a art line or a central line or even a IV, and you have questions, go ask somebody. Or you need a sterile buddy. If you're doing a sterile technique and you need help, just ask somebody. They're going to say yes. And if not, go ask somebody else. Find a friend. Find a friend on every shift, because at some point you're going to need help and they're also going to need help. Also, charge nurses, that's what they're there for, is to help you. They have that knowledge to help you in those situations. And I'm lucky enough where I would also go to any of my intensivists or doctors and ask for clarification. Ask, because it's so much better to ask for help or clarification than to mess up. Because if realistically, especially where I'm at in the ICU, if you mess up, that could cost someone a life. Not to be serious, but it could. Or cause infection. Or mess something up where you're going to have to do it again when you could have just done it right the first time. Ask questions. If you feel dumb, who cares? Also, if someone makes you feel bad or feel dumb at work, literally ignore them. That's what I do. And then you just realize that you're happy you're not them. They're probably upset with their life and themselves, and ignore it. You just have to let it go. You can't take everything personally, which I think is also so hard, because as nurses, we are such empathetic people. We care so much for other people. We literally serve other people. That's what we do for our careers, serving others. And I think it's really hard to not get affected by the other people, especially if you work with or bad families, or if anyone has an off day. But that's something you have to learn how to do, is to be able to control your emotions and yourself in those situations and be like, okay, blocking that out. That had nothing to do with me. I was just getting clarification or just figuring out a situation. And that's okay to figure those things out and to be able to be like, you know what, I'm not going to let that affect me. And speaking on letting things affect you too, where I'm at, I know not every unit or every nurse sees a lot of death and dying or declining patients, or going through those situations where, could I have done something better to help this patient? Would this patient still be here if I did something? It's a little more serious of a topic, but learning how to cope and having good coping strategies is so important. I feel like my unit's really good about if we have the organ donation team there, we're really good at talking, supporting each other, snacks, food. I always love a good snack. If you're a nurse, bring snacks for your other nurses. If you're a family or a patient's family or anything, or you just want to be nice, send a nurse some snacks. Crumble will make my day. Bagels make my day, especially if I'm working a weekend. If I'm working a weekend, I'm ordering food already. But it's so important to be able to have people around you that support you and know what you're going through. And it's okay to be upset. It's okay to process. You have to process. That's one thing I've learned is I feel like the first couple of passings that I was in my unit for, I didn't process. Blank. Didn't process at all. It is so important to be able to grieve and process. One of the things that I did was when I got a tattoo, I'll show you if you're watching, it's right here. It's on the back of my arm. It's a little angel wings and a little halo. I got that tattoo because I wanted something to remember all of the kiddos that have passed away or my patients that have declined, and just a good reminder of like how they impacted me, and hopefully I impacted them, because that's all I want at the end of the day, is to be able to say at the end of my 12-hour shift, even if I couldn't help them in a certain way, I just wanted to impact them. So I got that cute little tattoo, and I love that. That's my little nurse tattoo for all my little, oh, so cute. All my little angels. I'm not going to cry. But when I think about it, see, it's okay to cry. It's okay to be upset. But little things like that, like having that tattoo, I'll remember that forever. I'll remember my patients forever. And whenever I decide if I want to do a different kind of nursing or something like that, I'll always remember my PICU days. PICU's hard, but it's so good, so rewarding, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I'll move on to a lighter topic. One of the questions that I got asked on my Instagram was, I did a little Q&A. If you haven't followed the podcast Instagram or the TikTok, go follow it, because I want to start doing more Q&As at the end of the episodes and get more feedback. I love feedback. Please let me know. One of the questions that I got asked on the Q&A was my most embarrassing thing as a nurse. And honestly, I've done so many embarrassing things. Like at this point, I'm embarrassed all the time. But one of the most embarrassing things that happened was one of my patients had a trach vent. So like they breathe right here versus their mouth because it helps their lungs long term. Anyways, I had a trach vent patient and they had rhinoenero. So if you guys, rhinoenero is like a common cold to an adult, but to a kid, it can make them really sick. And kids decompensate first with their lungs versus their heart, just autonomy wise. So they had rhinoenero and he started throwing up everywhere. And he threw up all over me. I had to change. I started the day in my cute little pink scrubs, ended the day in XL OR scrubs because they're the only ones I could find. And it was day shift too. So like 3 p.m. They're like, did you change? I'm like, no, I literally got thrown up on. But that was something also. I just remembered this story, and this story is so funny. This was the most embarrassing thing. So I think I was still on orientation. I had been a nurse for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, like maybe a month, not even. I had a patient and I was working day shift. I was following a nurse around and we went home for the night, came back in the morning, and they're like, oh, the patient's parents are sick. Like they were throwing up. They were in the ER. We're like, oh, that's weird. Like, I hope they feel better. I don't know. Like they must have gotten sick at home. Our patient had recently been extubated, and when you take off sedation and paralytics, patients can withdraw from those medications. And a sign of withdrawal, just like alcohol or anything like that, is throwing up, like fever, like just kind of being sick overall, just not feeling good. My patient threw up and I was like, oh, he's probably withdrawing. Did a Watt score, which is withdrawing. It's like, okay, he's probably withdrawing. Anyways, always wore my gloves, did all of those normal contact precautions. About 11:30, I ran to the back bathroom, threw up everywhere. I threw up everywhere at work. I came out and the doctor was just going into the patient's room and I'm standing there like traumatized. I'm like, I just threw up everywhere. And my nurse is like, oh gosh, like, cause that morning we were like, oh, like right after we found out the parents were sick, we went and took our temperatures and we're like, okay, like we're not sick. We both kind of feel uneasy, but like maybe we're just making it up. Like sometimes you just like think you're sick and you're not. No, about an hour later, I went and threw up everywhere. They're like, oh my gosh, go home. So I go home. I'm so ill. Like I tried to stop at the store to buy soup. Couldn't even do that. Like I went through the drive-thru at McDonald's to get a Coke to make me feel better because that always makes me feel better. I didn't even drink it. That's how you know it's bad, is if I don't even drink it. I come home. I'm throwing up nonstop, like on the bathroom floor. Can't even look at my phone. My roommate comes home and is like, you do not look good. Like I need to take you to the hospital. I couldn't even cry. I was so dehydrated, just throwing up, nothing at this point. I go back to the hospital. I'm in the ED and I call upstairs and I'm like, hey, if you see because we watched the emergency department board in the PICU in case kids come in, what they come in with, like anticipating if we're going to get patients. And I was like, if you see my name on the board, I'm okay. Don't worry, I'm okay. And they were all like, wait, what? What's going on? Apparently the nurse that I was with got sick at work too and went home. Her husband picked her up. She couldn't even drive home. So then I'm in the ER and one of the other nurses from my floor who had my patient night shift texted me and was like, no way, I'm in the room next to you. She got it too. So we were both throwing up. The nurse that I was with was throwing up. Everyone got sick. And we were like, what is going on? I was so dehydrated. They gave me a bolus, which is straight LR. And I remember they blew both of my IVs. I was so dehydrated. They missed both my ACs. I got a hand IV. They gave me Zofran. And I remember when the doctor finally came in, I was like, I hate to be that patient, but I finally can have water. Can I please have water? And he was like, okay, fine. Cause you're a nurse. I know you're not going to aspirate. Here's some water. Hung out there for a while, then finally got all cleared to go. They couldn't figure out what was going on. They did a urine test and everything, went home, was texting the nurse. That was next to her. She went home too, was sick the entire next week. Like I was sick, then I was okay for a couple of days, and it was like a second wave. I came back to work the next week. Everyone was sick. I think I could count on my hand the amount of people that didn't get it. Turns out we had a norovirus outbreak, which norovirus is like the flu, but worse. So you either throw it up or it comes out the other way, or both. I was lucky enough I was just throwing up, but everyone was sick. I think we had like over 40 call outs or something like that within the next like month or two. And something about noro is hand sanitizer won't kill it. So you have to wash your hands before and after entering every room. And do you know how many times you go in a room? In 12 hours, 1 million. So we had to wash our hands for like 2 months and it was a whole outbreak. And I think majority of the patient's parents got it. Majority of the patients got it. And it was just one of those things where it's like, if you touch 3 particles of it, you're going to get it. So like it's inevitable and it's one of the easiest things to spread, but now it's over. It lasted like a month, but that was crazy and so embarrassing because it was like my 4th, 5th week of being a nurse. And I was like, great, I've already called out sick. This is what it's like. I'm going to get sick all the time because I'm also one of those people that's always sick. So I was like, that was so embarrassing. I was patient 0 because I didn't know what was going on until like the 7th or 8th person got it and they got tested and they were like, oh, nope, everyone just has noro. So that happened and that was the most embarrassing thing ever. Another question that I got was if I can wear whatever scrubs I want. I'm so lucky. I love wearing all my scrubs. If you guys don't know, I'm partnered with Fabletics scrubs. I love their scrubs. They're literally like Figs and other brands, but so comfy and so much cheaper. I always wear straight leg scrub pants and usually like a Lululemon undershirt, or I just got PICU shirts, which I'm so excited about. And then at night I wear sweatshirts, not sweatshirts, but like crew necks. And I love my PICU crew necks. I love a good swag. Like if I'm going to be there for 12 hours, I'm looking cute. And peds, I'm wearing bright pink scrubs. I'm wearing bright blue, like orange. I want all the scrubs, all the fun. Like if I'm in OR scrubs, you know it's a bad day, or it's my 3 of 3 and I'm over it. By the 3rd shift sometimes, like no. Night shift, I don't wear any makeup. Day shift, I'll try a little bit maybe. But like 3rd day, no makeup, hair slicked back, OR scrubs. Sometimes it's just the vibe. I always wear Hokas or my like slip-ons. I want new shoes for Christmas. I have a Christmas list of things I want. Nursing related, like a vest, because it's cold, especially at night shift. It gets freezing, but love Fabletics. In my bio link, I have like your first set is $20 and all of that good stuff. So go check that out. It's all linked on my Shop My too, like the individual scrubs I'm wearing in each video, which is so nice because it's so much easier for everyone to see. Another question that I got asked was how I like night shift more than day shift and that I'm crazy. If you're a night shift nurse, you just are, I don't get me wrong. I like day shift outside of nursing because you have a normal sleep schedule, but waking up at 5 a.m., brutal. Leaving when it's dark, getting home when it's dark. By the time you get home and like shower and sit down, it's like 8 p.m. and you're like, I need to go to bed immediately to wake up and do this all again tomorrow. I cannot work 3 day shifts in a row either. There's no way. Night shift, I can sleep during the day. I have my mask, my melatonin, which neuromelatonin is the best, and I have a discount code in my bio too, plug. But neuromelatonin, eye mask, shower, eat, knockout. I have it perfectly set up. And night shift, I wake up at 5 p.m. I go on a walk, usually with Chandler, and then I'm out of the house by 6:30ish. 6 if I want to get coffee. But then you do that. By the time you're off work, the sun probably isn't up or it's just barely rising. Love a Chick-fil-A breakfast to treat myself sometimes. Get home, shower by 8, go back to sleep. I've also perfected the night shift schedule. So night shift, always work 3 in a row. The past 2 weeks, I did 2 nights on, 1 off, 1 on because I had education. Never do that. I am exhausted still, but 3 night shifts in a row. Today is my night 1 of 3. So I woke up early, got coffee, went to church, and just kind of hang out until 12:31ish. Then I eat, take a shower, take melatonin, knock out until 5 or 6. If I lay down at noon, I usually wake up at 5. If I lay down at 1, I usually wake up at 6. Then you kind of sleep that good nap chunk. Work shift 7 to 7. Get off at 7, come home. Immediately shower, eat, bed. If it's a good shift, sometimes I'll work out in between. Depends. Honestly, I haven't been working out in the morning as much. Anyways, get home, shower, bed. Sleep all day until 5. Usually I'll do like a yoga or Pilates. Sometimes I've been boxing at 5. Do a little 5 workout, wake up 4:45 if I'm working out. If not, wake up at 5. Walk, eat, kind of chill for a sec, leave by 6:30. Then I work my second shift, come home, do the same thing. Eat, shower, sleep, maybe work out or walk, go to work. Last night. The last morning, night 3 of 3 morning, I come home, I eat and I shower, I sleep until 1, 2 if it's a rough day. Then I force myself to get up and do something. Eat, go on a walk, whatever. Do a workout at like 5 p.m. Or if I'm feeling up, I stay up for a bit. When I get home, take a nap, then wake up just for my 5 p.m. workout. But that 5 p.m. workout or 6 p.m. is essential on that last night to flop back to a regular schedule because I flop to normal sleep. So then you work out really hard, get home, eat dinner, shower, melatonin, sleep, you're back on normal schedule. So I've perfected it. That's like the perfect way to do it. If that made any sense. In my mind, that makes sense. But if I'm back the next night, I'm sleeping until 5, little workout, little walk, go to work. If I'm not, if it's my first night on, sleep from like 12 to 5. If it's my last night, I'll sleep from 8 to 1. And honestly, it balances that out pretty well. And working 3 in a row, you usually get like 4 nights off in between. So after these 3 nights, I have 4 off. Thank God. Because I'm exhausted because I haven't had that the past 2 weeks and it's been exhausting. But also I feel like nursing to the point, like once you've had a couple weeks and you're like, dang, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, then that's when you have a big break. As long as you schedule yourself right, which if you're a nurse, you need to schedule yourself on NurseGrid. It's the best. It shows you the whole setup and you can compare colleagues. So if you want to like switch shifts, you can be like, oh, compare schedules, like text that person. Oh, hey, can we switch this schedule? Also, nursing, you can switch it all the time. So nice. Really helps last minute because we schedule like 2 months out. So if something comes up last minute, you have people to text to cover your stuff and switch around, which is a huge help because sometimes you can't plan everything 2 months in advance. But I love to plan. So I like my 2 months in advance. But other than that, yeah, love night shift. Love nurse schedule, 3 days a week. You get PTO too. Night shift, you get more PTO. Night shift, you get paid more. Probably because you're sleeping all day. But honestly, I'll take the more pay and the more PTO right now. So you just bank up some PTO. And then sometimes I just take a random PTO day in the middle of the week. Because why not? But also my scheduler is so nice. I love her. She's the best and helps so much. And like if I schedule myself bad, she texts me, is like, why'd you do this? Like, do you mean to like do this to yourself? Most of the time it's yes, but sometimes I don't mean to, and then she catches it. I'm like, okay, good. Overall, I truly do love nursing. I'm so excited to see where I go in the future. I love the PICU right now. Who knows where I'll end up, but I'm so grateful for where I'm at. I'm so grateful to be called to do this. And if you're thinking about nursing school or thinking about being a nurse, you should, because you know what? Why not? You can do so many things. If you don't like it, you can do something else. And I hope that I can continue to be a positive influence on the nursing community and nursing students and other nurses, because we need that sometimes. And being so real, if I had a bad day or a bad shift or something I don't like about nursing, I always want to be genuine and tell you how I'm feeling and what it's like from my point of view and my experiences. So if you ever have any questions or want to talk about it, my DMs are always open. I love getting DMs, especially on TikTok and Instagram, about nursing school or just nursing in general. I will always be open to chit chat about all of that stuff. I'm going to wrap it up here. I hope you guys enjoyed the first episode of the Balanced With series. I'm so excited to talk about nursing. I'm sure I'll talk about it again in the future. I really want to have some of my nursing friends on here and some other nurse influencers who have a completely different viewpoint or experiences than I do. So look for that in the future. Thanks again for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Love you. Bye.